Hey guys, welcome to the wedding podcast. My name is Sahaj. I am a full-time wedding planner.
Hey guys, my name is Mo. I am a full-time photographer, videographer.
Here we talk about weddings, tips, advice, and we're excited to be here in 2023.
Man, it's crazy to say 2023 already.
I
I
know.
just got used to saying 2022 right now.
Dude, can you imagine? Lockdown started 2020. It's been 3 years.
Time has flown by like
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. Thinking about, a year and a half ago, we were worried about is our events going to happen? Are we going to get canceled? Is it going to get postponed and all that stuff? But here we are now, bigger, badder,
Stronger,
stronger, even larger weddings now.
for
So
sure.
I'm excited to see what 2023 has for us and all.
Me too. I'm very excited for 2023. I'm very excited to what we do with the wedding podcast.
Absolutely. So what are we talking about today?
Today's topic, we're going to start off with stress.
Ooh.
Top five reasons or top reasons that cause stress at your wedding.
Okay. Okay. Starting with New Year's with a stress-free wedding season,
Yeah, we want
hopefully.
we want you guys to have, if you're getting married this year or in the next 2024. I have some clients already planning for 2024 weddings.
Hmm.
I love it. The earlier you start, the better it is. So if you want to get married soon, start now.
Absolutely.
It's
Never too
never
early.
never too early.
Absolutely. So yeah. So what's the first topic?
First topic will be, we're going to talk about people in general. First thing will be late people. It
Hmm.
can mess up your whole timeline, everything you've planned if guests are late.
Yeah, and not only guests, but also family members. It's crucial to share a timeline with your family member. If you're in the South Asian community, I'm sure you already have a WhatsApp group with all your family members. Make sure to communicate. Hey, we need you ready at X amount of time in the venue for your bridal portraits and all that stuff, right? It's always, the parents, brothers, sisters running a few minutes behind, 10, 15 minutes behind. But usually it's a pretty packed timeline on a
Mm-hmm.
wedding day and all that stuff. So that's definitely a big stress thing for brides and grooms, making sure their families at least there on time.
For sure. Like, yeah, like Mo said, even earlier in the beginning, not your event even hasn't even started yet, but when you're doing family pictures before,
Hmm.
that can mess up the whole timeline if that starts late. Because if you don't get that during then, you might never get those pictures, or try to find time later on, but then sometimes it's not possible.
Exactly. So make sure your family's on time first and most importantly. And communicate with them.
Yeah.
If they say they'll be there at 6 o'clock, tell them 5:30 because Daisy standard timing.
100%. I always, especially with working with family, I always tell my couples, tell them even 45 minutes early. Tell them to get there at 2. I know pictures just not start until 2:45, but they have to come into the venue. They're going to settle down. Maybe somebody has to go to the bathroom. Maybe they want to drink some water. Just tell them to come a little bit early. It will not hurt anybody.
Absolutely. Transitioning into the next portion of guest and family, family politics.
That's a big one. Family politics, especially if you're a bride and groom or just even a family member, it can cause you stress,
Hmm.
and you're not gonna have fun at your wedding if you're trying to play family politics and try to handle your family.
Yep. Again, same thing in that WhatsApp group. Let everyone know this is about you and your fiance or your husband or wife. Not to make it about, some random family member that wanted a seat at the head table or anything like that, right? So don't worry about the small things. Focus on having fun and enjoying your day.
Yeah, sometimes you can't beat family politics, like it's gonna happen no matter what. What I try to do is have a blame person. If you have a wedding planner or coordinator, you can always say, this is what we've planned with them, and have them take the step forward and tell a family member, this is how things are gonna go, because they're the professional doing it. It tends to flow a little bit better that
I
way.
am totally going to use that next event when something's going sideways. I'm gonna be like, go talk to the wedding planner.
They're of course we're experienced to do that. That's
All
fine. You can
right,
send
done,
them my way,
done.
and I'll just
I
send them back to you.
Yeah. Okay. 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 All right. So, what about uninvited guest?
Uninvited guests can be very stressful, especially when we're going to talk about a little bit about vendors and unaccommodating venue. If you have an uninvited guest and you haven't planned for a chair for them, you haven't gotten an extra table for these things,
Plated
um,
dinners.
plated dinners. It's on you if you don't have a planner or coordinator that they're gonna come to saying when you don't want to deal with those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can cause not wanted stress.
No, 100%. So if you're listening to this and you're a guest at a wedding, if you weren't invited, please don't show up and add
Seriously,
stress for the bride and groom.
not even for the bride and groom, for the family, for the vendors, for the venue too. They don't know, they didn't know they have to deal with this, but you're the one that's causing everybody stress. So
Yeah.
stay home if you're not invited. It's a fine. It's one wedding.
FOMO, Instagram.
You watch it on Instagram.
Instagram. Um, But yeah, so kids are another thing for me when it comes to families. Our equipment is very expensive. Kids around the dance floor, running around, in between first dances and all that stuff, really takes a moment away from the bride and groom. So try to keep kids under control. If you're having a kids-free wedding, even better. But try to make sure your kids, I want them to have fun. I want them to have a great time at a wedding and all that stuff. Just be mindful of, what's going on the dance floor, what equipment's out, what's around there. We've had expensive lights knocked over by kids and all that stuff. So please just keep an eye on the kids.
Yeah, if I mean my recommendation 100% is don't do any kids or as less kids as possible. Yeah, it's a close family member. I know you want that cousin or brother there, but I've tackled many kids to from going to the dance floor during the first dance, believe it or not.
Uh,
I jump in there and I stop them. As a wedding planner, I think it's one of my responsibilities to make sure a kid is not running
Running in
into their
front of,
first
yeah.
dance.
No, 100%. The last thing you want to see is, that special dip coming in right at the last second, and you see a kid running across the screen of your wedding video and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. Cool.
Um,
So I think that's enough about families and all that stuff. What's next? What else are some of the
Definitely let's go back to vendors, inexperienced vendors and unaccommodating venues. Believe it or not, as a venue owner, I always go over as much detail as possible. But there are some venues out there that, play by ear. They're not as experienced and they don't want what's best for you, but it can cause a lot of stress. Unaccommodating venues, like if they're not willing to give you an extra table for vendors and for just family members, if they're only giving you that many chairs, if you said 100 guests, if they're only giving you 100 chairs, that should be a red flag because sometimes somebody wants to not sit at their own chair. They want to go somewhere else and have a conversation, or vendors want to have a seat. Unaccommodating venues can cause a lot of stress.
Absolutely. And I think it's, those small things that make your wedding day. Like last weekend, we were in Dallas. The ballroom was pretty full, and the banquet hall manager actually saw that there was a lot of people standing, like during dinner time. They actually rolled out 4 additional tables without even interacting with the bride and groom and all that stuff. Really shows that the venue cares about the couple, cares about making sure they have a great event and all that
That's
stuff.
awesome. Like say like photographers coming, you haven't planned for a photographer to be have a table, but if the venue is not willing to give photographers a table, that's a very basic thing. Again, the
Yep.
small things will add up, and at the end of the day, it's gonna come on the bride and groom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what other things are kind of in that vendor realm? Well, you mentioned unexperienced vendors. What's kind of like the flags for that?
Yeah, inexperienced vendors. Let's talk about. We'll break it down with every. Let's start with the catering. You know, food is huge at
Mm-hmm.
South Indian weddings. As I've said before, many times, food is very important, especially hot food. Indian people are
Naans,
not. Desi people are not happy if they get cold
cold
food.
food, yeah.
That is a fact. You're feeding them cold food, they're gonna be really mad at you. And at the end of the day, again, it's gonna fall on the family and the couple. And guests are guests. They're gonna say something. They're gonna make those comments, and that's gonna add on stress on the couple. But cold food, bad food, that's very important for catering. For photography, what do you think?
So from a photography aspect, lighting is a big thing, right? Ballrooms are typically dark. a lot of photographers, everyone can go out and buy a flash and all that stuff, right? But if you don't know how to properly use the flash, expose properly with flash and all that stuff, it leads to really weird looking photos where the subject may be in proper lighting, but the background is completely dark, or vice versa, right? So not having experience with lighting, not experience with how to direct and all that stuff leads to a really stressful day, especially when not on the day of, maybe, but when you're looking at the album, when once you receive it, you're gonna be disappointed, and you now you have to deal with a photographer. Hey, can we get these edited? Blah blah blah, and all that stuff,
But
right?
to add to that, also on the day of, that you brought a good point, directing guests.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen when family pictures and guest pictures are going
Yeah,
on,
absolutely.
when the photographer does not know how to direct the couple or the guests, people are just standing there. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Number one, that's making everybody else late, and the couple's also like, okay, what do we do now?
Yep.
Small things like that will add on stress.
Yeah,
Again.
like an experienced photographer, the other thing you have to really think about, we're kind of with you the like throughout the entire day with you and all that stuff, right? Last thing you want an experienced photographer, videographer doing is kind of asking you the questions like, "Hey, what are we supposed to do next?" Rather than having a timeline and all that
Mhm.
stuff. Not to step on your toes or anything, but like wedding photographers, videographers are kind of sort of like a day of coordinator in essence, right? We're there to kind of help flow the day, keep it moving throughout the day as well. So,
Yeah, 100%. What about DJs like MCs,
mhm.
unprofessional MCs? If they make a wrong announcement or if they say something the wrong way, I've had when the family got upset when the MC did not pronounce their names
Name's
right,
correct, yeah.
and they were really upset about that.
Or, not being able to keep the party going,
Yeah.
right? Like you hire a DJ to keep the crowd engaged, keep everything moving as well, making announcements, or even small things, right? Like microphones not working or not
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to operate the microphone. There's nothing more, painful than as you're giving your speech you hear a loud screech from the speakers and all that stuff, right? So having experience on how to set up that properly is very very vital as well. I don't
For
know how much it'll add in terms of stress for you on the day of, but it's just it all kind of boils down to making a flawless event for yourself though.
Yeah, we want you to have the best wedding day possible. So, you know, talk to vendors, make sure you're getting reading reviews, and make sure you're really doing your research before booking vendors, and make sure they are top A or top tier vendors that you want, and you're getting that value that you're spending money.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always ways of doing things within budgets as well. If you haven't checked out our how to save money on at your wedding video is up on YouTube. Take a look at it. There's always tips on how to get quality vendors without having to cut corners or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump into the next topic will be DIY. If you're DIYing your, let's say, centerpieces,
Hmm.
that's gonna be stressful for you. Yeah, not like even if you're super confident and you make them perfectly, getting them to the venue, setting them up, breaking them down, taking them back, that's something you will
The
have to do.
execution part of it. Yeah, and we've seen couples stressing about the small details of it, right? Like, we had a family member make a completely a three-tier wedding cake. They were decorating it on the day of and all that stuff, and the couple is freaking out. Hey, is it gonna be ready in time? Is it gonna be up in time? Is the floral around it and all that stuff, right? So it adds a layer of additional stress. Rather than having a vendor do it, it's just a little bit more pressure on the family members and all that stuff.
A little less pressure on the family members.
If you have a vendor, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry.
What is the next thing? I can't read. I'm blind.
Unorganization and crappy timelines.
Crappy timelines.
I'm sure
Um,
you're an expert at this.
expert at great timelines and fixing crappy timelines. Yes, timeline management is very, very, very probably the most important thing on your wedding day. That's why I recommend sitting down with the planner coordinator, even the venue coordinator, and making sure you have a perfect timeline. Give that timeline. Start as early as possible. Give it to all your vendors for their opinions. A photographer might want to do this 5 minutes
Hmm.
earlier. Catering wants to do this 10 minutes later. Get everybody's opinion. Share a master timeline, one page timeline. Not the details. Keep the details for yourself. One page timeline. that just has the time and what's happening. Give it to everybody, family members, vendors, so everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely. I don't think I need to add anything to that. You said that absolutely perfect.
Oh,
Talk to your vendors. From a photography standpoint, it's important for me to get you guys outside at the right time. Especially in the winter months right now, a lot of couples are shooting for a 4:30, 4 o'clock getting ready. Realistically, it's already dark outside by the time 4:30, 5 o'clock rolls around. So communicate that timeline as early as possible so we can plan accordingly, and we can shift some things around to make sure that we can go and get some portraits done prior to your event starting.
yeah. Last thing we would say would be your bridal party, drunk bridal party, or inexperienced bridal party. If you have the option to do a rehearsal, 100% do it. No matter how many times your bridal party has been in weddings, no matter how many times your family's been in weddings, if you have a chance to do rehearsal, 100% do it. It will save or cut less stress again on the day of. You don't have to direct anybody. All those things are already done.
Absolutely. And also give them, if you have tasks that the bridal parties are taking care of, divide it amongst all of them. Give them a list or a to-do list, rather than just kind of expecting them to know what's kind of going to happen and all that.
Yeah.
It adds stress for you as a bride, but also adds stress as the bridal party as well. So communicate the time, like not the timeline, communicate what they're expected to do. Make sure that they're on the same page. They know your expectation for it. So it leads to a much more I can't English today. So it leads to a much better execution of the task.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, drunk bridal party too. I've seen bridal parties who tend to drink, family members tend to drink a little too much
Or too soon,
or too soon. That's
right?
actually
Like
pretty
that's,
important.
yeah.
And it's very hard to get them into a car at the end of the night. They don't want to leave the venue. But, again, all those things.
Or stumbling down the aisle as your ceremony is
Oh
about to
my
start,
God.
right? There's so
Oh my
many
God.
horrible scenarios that could play
Just
out with that.
limit alcohol until the dance floor, and even then, most venues cut people off. But if you see your friend getting too drunk, your bridal party family member, somebody getting too drunk, go talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
that
good.
was good.
That was good.
I'm excited. This was our first episode of 2023. Let us know what you guys think. Again, my name is Sahej from the Wedding Podcast.
Thanks, Edge. My name's Mo, and it was a pleasure to speaking with you guys today. Thank you guys for continuing supporting us, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Good luck. Have fun with whatever you're doing. Enjoy it.
All right, bye.